Good morning, everyone. It's Kaye-Loni. I'm back with another epilepsy video. Happy Epilepsy Awareness Month. It's November. It's been about a year, a little over, since I posted a video, and I just wanted to give a little update on how things have been, ask some questions, and answer some questions. I'm here in San Diego. Probably been here since my last video. A lot has happened since then. And I've gained a lot of followers, answered a lot of questions, been asked a lot of questions, made a lot of friends and acquaintances. That's been amazing. And the amount of followers and supporters that I've gained over the last few years through the videos, Facebook, Instagram, everything has been incredible. The biggest thing that I can say to start with is spread awareness, because the amount of people that don't know what epilepsy is and the amount of people that have the misconceptions that they have is incredible. So that's the biggest thing that I can start with today. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, but I'd like to send an update because a lot of people have asked questions on what has happened since I've been in San Diego, and since so much has happened, I just figured this would be the easiest way. So since my last video, I was 6 months seizure-free as of last July. And unfortunately, in November of 2013, I had my first seizure in San Diego, actually a year ago today. It was probably partially my fault. There was a lot of other things involved, but I did celebrate a 21st birthday with one of my best friends, missed medication, I was hormonal, period, things like that, a lot going on, and ended up in the hospital the next morning. It was my very first seizure in San Diego, so I was like 8 or 9 months seizure-free at that point. It was very disheartening, and more than anything, I hate waking up in a hospital. The seizure is one thing, but waking up with a bunch of EMTs and doctors around you is never a fun thing. It's not fun for anyone, but especially when you have seizures, it's way more comforting to wake up with someone you know around you. So that was not fun. And that was only the start of it. I definitely haven't had as many as I did when I was on Lamictal. So again, if you haven't watched any of my previous videos, I recommend the first one. But again, this will be my 5th one. So then after that, as most of you know, I am in San Diego because my wife is in the Coast Guard. So she did start deploying, and she left for deployment a few weeks before Christmas. And while she was gone, I did have a couple seizures, actually, at my job. I work for Verizon, and I actually got really lucky because one of my managers has a sibling who has epilepsy, or actually has seizures, I'm sorry. And when I woke up, I was still at work. Thank goodness they didn't call the ambulance, because she got someone to time the seizure, as you're supposed to do with anyone that has seizures. And they managed to get everything out of the way. I didn't hit my head. They were very careful with me, and everything was okay. I did actually kind of throw out my shoulder a little bit, but other than that, I was all right. And for that one, I'm not too sure what happened still to this day. I think maybe I didn't get enough sleep. I didn't miss any medication, so I'm still not sure what happened. That's one of the worst phone calls to make. My wife was on deployment. She was still my fiance at the time. And I had to email her, actually, and tell her that I'd had a seizure at work, and it was just very disheartening for both of us. It was really hard for both of us to deal with, not being able to talk to each other or anything like that. So as I said in my previous video, if you have a loved one that you have to deal with seizures together, whether it's a parent, sibling, a caretaker, a spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, you guys need to keep an open line of communication, because it's something really hard for you to deal with, but it's even harder for them to deal with, because I know I shut down a lot when it comes to my epilepsy, verbally. I don't like to tell people how I'm feeling. I don't like to open up. I probably open up more on here with you guys than I do with anyone else. So just talk to them. So I actually had 2 seizures during that deployment, and I think actually both of them happened at work. After she came back, I had another one, and that one was actually also from drinking too much. I've come to realize over the past year and a half that even though I did go back on Topamax, and I had a really high tolerance when I was on Topamax before, my body doesn't react the same to it. So a lot of my younger viewers may not realize the tolerance that you build once you've been on medication for a while. That's a big one that you need to discuss with your doctor. my body has become very tolerant of Topamax, and I do take 200 milligrams, 100 in the morning and 100 at night. And it's been consistent that way for a couple years. Even before I was on Lamictal, and now that I'm off of Lamictal, it's the same. So I cannot do all of the same things that I could do before. I'm also getting older, and my schedules have changed. Routine is very, very important. Sleeping routine, making sure you're getting enough sleep, not drinking too much alcohol, not being under too much stress, things like that. So I went out the next morning. I had a seizure. I was actually in Firehouse Subs on my way to work, and I had a seizure. It was just horrible. I even actually had a seizure at one of my best friend's weddings. So it's just a lot of different things have happened. Then she went on deployment again. I was planning our wedding. She was gone for the entire time up to 2 weeks before our wedding. And I had a seizure while driving. And it was the very first one I've ever had in the 5.5 years that I've had epilepsy. I'm sorry, 6 almost now. It will be 6 this month that I started having seizures. And that was the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. So for anyone that has had a seizure while driving or that is scared to have seizures while driving, it can happen to anyone. I was kind of in that bubble that it won't happen to me. It's never happened to me. It's not going to happen to me. I'm very careful because I am very careful. I pay attention to what I'm doing. I pay attention to the signs. I'm not one of those people that gets auras before I have a seizure, but I always pay attention to what I'm doing, and I wear my seatbelt and all of those things. I got very lucky. I was only going about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Someone on the street saw what was happening, jumped in the car, pulled the e-brake. I woke up in the ambulance. The cop didn't handle things very well. She called my mom on the East Coast and scared the daylights out of my mother. My mom thought that I was dead. So it's not a good thing. I tried to explain to the cop that we had a routine in place, and even my mom told her that. And the good thing about having epilepsy for so long is that you do get things like that in place. And for anyone that doesn't have a routine in place, I definitely suggest it and recommend it more than anything else, because even when I'm not completely conscious and I don't know my own name, I know to pick up the phone and call my mom and tell her what has happened. And I may not even know who she is at that point in time. So more than anything else, that's very important. So a lot has happened. I don't have my license until December. Because in San Diego, if it's not a very common event to have seizures, where you go a certain amount of time without seizures, you can do 3 to 5 months with a restricted license. So I'm waiting. As of November 5th, I'll be 2 months seizure-free. So I keep going back and forth. Got to keep high spirits. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I have a really great support system around me and a lot of great friends and people that love me, luckily in San Diego, that I have found. And then, of course, my support from across the country. Anybody that wants to ask any questions or that has been going through hard times, I'm more than willing to answer questions. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. It's Kaye-Loni Renee. And then obviously on here. I was slacking for a little while answering questions because with things that started happening, it was really hard for me to keep up with both because I was trying to entertain my own emotions and respond to other people. Another big thing that's been going on in the epilepsy world is the talk about cannabis. So if anybody wants to discuss that, I would love to entertain ideas because I hear a lot of mixed emotions about it. The hash oil, the cannabis, all of that kind of stuff. And I live in a state where medical cards are very big. So I'd love to hear opinions on that and what people think about that. There's not a whole lot of other things going on right now aside from those seizures that I've been having. It is Epilepsy Month, and I got an outpouring of people that have worn purple and have done all of these wonderful things. One of my friends made cake pops that lives in Connecticut. They were beautiful. The biggest thing I can say is don't feel like you're alone. I feel like that often, even though there are so many people that are here for me, because people don't understand what we're going through. People don't understand what it feels like to have a disorder, and people don't understand what it feels like to be in our shoes. They only know what it feels like to be in their shoes. A constant thing that I have to deal with is I want to be independent, and I want to do all these things on my own, but I know for the rest of my life I'm going to have to depend on someone else. And I don't like that. I'm a very independent person. And that's really hard for me just to say. So that's something that a lot of people have to deal with. I know people older, 40 and 50 years old, that have had to deal with it their whole lives. They've never had licenses. I know people that are younger that are just getting into this and have just started having seizures, that have just lost their license for the first time. And all I can think back to is now I don't have my license. And the first time I lost my license, I also lost my girlfriend of 2 years. So it's a very large struggle. It's hard to find people that are genuine. So any of these things, if you're going through any of these things, talk to someone. If you don't want to talk to me because you don't know me, find someone else. I was seeing a therapist when I first got diagnosed with epilepsy, because depression is a huge thing that comes with a seizure disorder. Don't feel alone. Don't feel like there is nowhere to go, and don't feel like there's no one to talk to. Maybe talking to me is a better option because you don't know me. I've gained a lot of friends. Almost every day someone new messages me on Facebook, messages me on Instagram. I don't mind. I love answering questions, and I love feeling like there's some sort of bond there. I have friends that have other diseases that we have connected on a different level because we have things that we are going through and we have no one else to talk to because they only understand to a point. They try to be there as much as they can. They try to empathize as much as they can, but they can't always. And sometimes you just need someone to lighten the mood. I have a new friend on Facebook. His name is Dan. And he just recently, within the last year and a half, started having seizures. And instead of being upset or being depressed, he makes a joke about everything. And every time I post something this month about epilepsy, he makes a joke about it. And he literally makes me laugh every day. So you just have to find people like that. You have to stay positive and you have to stay optimistic. So in closing, I recommend watching my videos. I recommend asking questions. Anyone that doesn't have epilepsy and that has questions, just remember that no question is a stupid question because you won't know unless you ask. Wear purple, and if you don't know the answer, look it up with them together. That's the only way that you can learn. I hope everyone has a wonderful day and a great month.